defend you. Me defend you. Me more possible scenarios.
You.
Nah.
There's my another option. There's my another option.
The another option is that remember now they can't go see one. Or continue come over me.
Okay, no problem.
Oh, I'm growing the attending the Papa can dear.
Papa is also the Aboagye nua
o your hini
o your saso your hini nua pahini.
What last me beto no ha no.
Olo.
Okay.
O your hini.
Okay. In fact, from your kika kan there. Unim. Munko interview oba no.
What's that?
One come kasa.
Munko interview no.
What's that?
Oba no munko interview no.
Bacho.
Ebia.
Yeah.
Ono ni side no obeka no. Wan hwe obia be gutu for motion. So on there.
And say say na dey.
Ebia no wo genuine reason bi. Is say na wo kan yi.
Me say
ebia. So. Wo be ko wa say me kuri. Na kesa ade no ma. Ade nyina agree say be yesi. How on there.
Dey hunu ni say. Ebusha penny ni say. Be ma no doubte.
Emo ka kire no
yeah.
Amane mame be ye asem. MP we so duabo.
Hey, but omo have na no mo di no asase so ye o.
MP no mo nem no dia mo yankotwe ono so ye. Yanko e die ne no ne.
Oh MP.
Ono so betumi akwakoyo no so ne ma no die.
Enye MP ne mba wo.
Oh, that be so be ye ne ma no die ne. Say bia na MP fufuro so awe. That die. As a secret was how. Just imagine, say, I mean, aftermath of Sadeva way, I mean, go through some of these things, and yet a psychological effect to you, the wife, and to the family as well. Family they are heavily affected.
Yeah.
Well, family they are heavily affected, and some of these things, say, managing the year, they are suffering from about. And Pinusu so yes, I know. One person ebony dia, yebo. One person ebony onu amra bonto no meka so oni mo hwe.
Entina mbisa mo so wo he kumasi ana so boase. Mo so mu jina wasa ashanti ready. I don't know.
Obi say, tell JB, I have secrets no one knows for 31 years.
Hey,
not even our late parents.
It's not a secret. What's all secret will be any for 31 years. Is it a secret?
Secret. Unim.
I show no ankasa no ho na say wa bo bia no.
Parents go anya we.
So chairman. This is the situation. Ekofo mienu e cast asumasema. It doesn't remain a secret anymore.
A secret.
Oh,
between the two of you.
That be
what is about ko be kwa bonte no.
Exactly.
Another message. Eja, please inform JB that certain issues are between a husband and a wife alone. Not even a trusted friend will know about it. Let's say we know me no cry with secret.
No ho.
Na when they
to go. What's it?
O ma minim.
Mami ni nkomo sa.
Nti yemi no de
what's it?
Any secret.
Yemi no secret waka che godin.
Ye nko wo ye.
Ba waka che godin.
Enya awo asem.
Dabi waka che godin.
Me nkan chi obi abata enya awo asem.
No.
Dabi o, ye wo issues bi ho no mo a, it remains secret. And the way issues bi ho no mo a, you can't keep that as a secret. Because se se bi o wa kra to ha no sisi ya.
That is secret. You can secret chese.
Oh, that be o se
no secret chese.
O de he e betumi abie be nya so many definitions.
Individual secret ho. Ade wo group secret. Group secret no betumi nipa mienu mi ensan na enum. Ebia mo production team mu nyina mo aka bom.
Yes.
Mo ye bibi eye secret between you. Se mu bia enko out. Enko kan ya eye
secret.
A secret.
Me ni me no be say entem. Ye me na yentimi mboso. Oje?
Mo kwa assignment ani esisi.
Oje aya mboso yi.
Mo kwa assignment ani esisi no.
Ontimi mboso.
Mo kwa assignment ani esisi.
Ye kwa assignment.
Mo kwa assignment mu tu kwa ko yi nu mu ni ade ade. Mo ko zimani ade ade nyina. Esisi no
Ba bi ni me no. Bi ni ho ontimi mboso, bi ntimi mboso da.
Ose. Ose.
Wo ya be ma mboso.
Baby e no kasa menti.
But I was on a more serious note. You know, I'm not yes, Remo.
Omuduebu. You see,
Sadia no feel say,
dear, no, you be
pack off.
Dear,
omuduebu.
Oh, be war. Odu Sakumo no.
Oh, that means say for 4 places.
Nkosra doctor no here.
Odu Sakumo no junction honoma. What they call estate here na April we. Sa junction so a wo call wanim kakra bi on your right. Omo ba.
You situation dey aso ko hoda.
Oh minim.
Kaso ko hoda.
Minim. Wo call Ukra court disputed the Ibiana kokota. You be refer wako. Omo 3 places.
Oh, okay.
Eho eye 1. I be refer wako. Amo akoye sadie
I see. But it's unfortunate. I mean, seriously speaking, it's unfortunate. It be affect akra na dache.
Na kwa ndey be affect.
It be affect. Yeah. Man dey mean sisi ya man on
my. Say na say donations ya ye. Me ye kakra o. See ya dey ma yi omo free mo omo me. Na say nkola na nya dey omo benya bia na.
Dem ye kwa dey so nya bi. The first born no kra wo ho no kra bia na. One for now, my request still is only because never pardon. What you no here no.
Na ni esi onko ye ye
and no necessarily major who. Me rough. For the come back forth. Then what is getting me share. Skano modru.
E jo wanye DNA no metima nya bi.
I'm say as but omo anya DNA na you betimi nya because a legitimate wife. Yeah, a legitimate wife to betimi nya bi.
Oh, okay.
E bia no so dey ahwe ne ba no. I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Captain, my former boss, your friend Abba Forcing, or share was him in jail, man. What ye? Abba Forcing, or East Legon.
Okay.
Was him in jail. Where my former boss?
I said, Chap. And
I'm fine, you know, man, already.
Antiaba,
only CEO of Nyaniba Health Institute. Yeah. Katina, yawie obey dey say na esi parliament ya beka ho kakra na.
Wofa afenyo ne ayarga de na. Oh, ekwada o.
Na say o kaya o mo constitute a delegation to can say ECOWAS parliament.
Oh.
Ana o mo hye say no. Leaders no. Because of say oya no mu ye busy ntino. And say yema omo eka ho bio.
Sure.
And the majority leader e best step aside. Na the deputy lead. Na minority leader and so step aside. Na the deputy lead. Na just omanya team na omo de ko. Because omo debate o ho e parliament yi. My speaker of parliament Aboagye actual letter officially. E dey command ECOWAS parliament say these are the delegations omo ko. And say September no. Omoko ECOWAS parliament. Delegation drew her afenyo markings na ti hoyi. Hey,
Abuja o.
Ah, dada de no. Enya de na nka ma patricia pg na sese okọ no.
Yes.
Ese di asemu ni. Just omo ye ya ma I'm say 4 members gra no. Omo so omo in.
Yeah.
Because afenyo markings eko. Na ma hu say ayarga aka ho asem forcefully. Ama wa move motion say or refer Afenyo Markins to the Privileges Committee. In fact, so PMO Privileges Committee, Tom Tutuna no Mushum, Nase falling contempt of Parliament. There's some case about Obetima losing seat, number 1. Number 2, Obetima suspended. So on it, you know.
Just say, losing seat, I know the Nanka one fine punishment. Not suspension there. I mean, at his level, he should know better.
Yeah.
And he knows better. Just me and call parliament that. No because he be a boom rather soon see fine chairman. Oh no, there he's been there. And why a majority leader paying? Why a minority now a minority leader? Make I pass as some buy no. Mama part rejected here because usro the directives are after the market demand. Extra crack attention to me accepted that very particular position. I mean to what extent? No what me for car say play you kuku for free had ma akwa Abuja. Akwa ECOWAS parliament. Yes piasu umpi. Emma other 4 members no mo ka ho no mo form that team no. Yes to me aso mo in. Oh, what a shame.
But our 4 members no mo new.
I mean them go say
parliament. Ask yes mo in. But for the market they are not a member that. I elected as a deputy speaker. I'm the 3rd deputy speaker also. I work on them. Any other. But mother institution na o represent no almost say eti identity say obuso apenyo me kan say oya me brother wo free no chrome a na wo ko me chrome wo free chairman wo twam wo chairman no do aseda me na fe wo dia fa ho no mo
afenyo oya igbeni sa
na afenyo etese
oh we kaso
kanti infantine dey am say
ne why dey sinapa ne mumbio
ne mother side ne papa ye
oh okay I see
it was the son of Anglo State.
Oh, I see.
They say, oh, call me chrome, I own me chrome. Now they are called me chrome. Eti mesreno, one ton of bossy because Sabi, if you are saying from baby, so on it, you know. Other baby, I would do no one baby would every year. So, as I say, we live in dignity,
a certain legacy.
And she say, oh, yeah, I mean, oh, boss, say, means about only say or carry some kind of weight.
A very respected member of parliament.
Chairman Sabonsu, or may disagree with you in a very nice way.
Yeah, sure.
Well, who say on extreme cases now, who say the both of part to Tony Sana Sebibisa. So all the time, no, who say, or you cool, calm, or ye bibia. Now, what should ye a see ye? Or veteran, I can tell you for a fact. Say Ayariga Ejai Afenyon will read the statement na. Can someone or Becky Kawum or the last sentence on this note? We exit the committee for you to continue. To know my prepare committee na nyadi better. And those one take a decision so I'm boycott. And also so enyemra. But omono baba be dente nkrofans omo. Yeah. Look, as I say bo Ayariga Baso.
Oh yes, I mean this time he did so well.
As you born Baso.
Yeah, no correct.
Anna got to say chairman ahiafo. What is so oya me MP o. What is me MP?
Oh, I see.
At a point, you know, I saw a say, some preliminary statement, you coca, your bog will be any over now questions. What I say? A opportunity at the amount of fire ye. Not say back and forth, at a point, you know, not guess what catino, pa. What's now questions? Not for my starting questions. Who may be Sabi, who miss our sorry. What I say? Sam your man, as a so much. Number 2. Parliament, as a some making sure say or master or more practice no. Say we are ranking member we were unlimited time to ask question nonsense.
Na nipa ba quote me I questions be more than 2-3 hours.
Yes, time is money.
Oh.
Na nipa ba ko betima bisa question over 3 hours no buzu bisa question. I don't know favor. Members of the committee who opportunity to ask 3 questions.
Yeah.
Now, supplementary, baku bi ato so. It is all supplementary questions are in all. Emphasis 6 questions. What we? I didn't mean kasi okay. Say member be bisa 3 plus 3 supplementary 6 here. And the ranking member, you have more 100 questions and you have more 50 questions. Who bisa we? No people timatna say. Let's just say. What luxury of time will be some way unnecessary question. Maybe I would try Bani at the other.
This year to me. Me share size 43. Me badge equal 4. Say your share size 2. Na si jinabi person ya de me shoe. E maje equal 4 so share so fantum de kansane ya den na beba.
What do you mean to the damn?
Chairman Sabonsu Paboa Jaye wo Parliament House na size 64. Afẹ́ ma kin share size 2. I don't know him.
Chairman, so be bad ya mutro.
Any of this shoe no ama afenyo so on share by force. Chairman Sabonsu 9 years size 64. And ya dey akoma size 2 ni say share by force for socks. Pepiantama go share di mu na for 9 shape. Enti onoma aso so. Moye sa ebe no betimi adwuma na oye no age takashi bem enti mo ma fanyo markets use no takashi strategy no enje de oye no
Number 2, asa confirm say stand na minority are taking no. Na ni amanfo ka say CJ Tokono or MPP ni no. Na je say we confirm.
Why they confirm?
Omo actions are confirming.
Oh, no, so your MPP need that. Na Tokono ye nimu no.
Ana me say.
Wait, I am MPP
better. MPP ni gra na ye can say speculation.
There speculation. Tokono ye MPP ni pure.
Mami ensign establish say Justice Bafuboni. Me, I got to know him through Sir John. Sir, or yet sympathetic to any political party. Menka say member. But so you're sympathetic to any political party. You make say you're MPP.
Yeah.
It's a fact. So we need to know. Next so no. What do you need here? Akufo-Addo. It showed us.
When election petition 2012.
2012 election petition. Obi ase o Kabafu boni di maya. Kabafu boni di maya.
Okay, 5-5.
Na so ade na omo ye yi no. Wo vote bi ma MPP, wo vote bi ma NDC. Nyamba di bi ho no mo a nka omo fi sel kode kwa ka ho a double you can say duplicate serial numbers. Any ade. Hwe Onua FM polling station. Ada TV3 polling station. Nipa 200 ato aba ho. Nipa 300 ato aba ha. Omo ma beto aba do omo ato omo aba wi o. Ya printed pink sheet. Na serial numbers na akoye the same thing. Adenti adu obi aba begina awiemu ato aba. Ese ka say ya twa na yimu. Anu say ono no it doesn't make sense. Etuane ne de wogitumu a egeye. Ne boni a wadi wasase su ha nyina.
Binya boni a wadi. Boni Akufo-Addo feel say wadi.
I don't know.
Yapon.
Eti baje me mama fa badusi. O de merani up. So, eti wo bo fi say wan to amani nti no. Etru no so say ko di Chief Justice no. Ana Akufo-Addo ko fa Araba. Ana ode no be jampo no. Ana Supreme Court hwe ade ba kwa ma
Justice Gayo.
Ade ba kwa ma Justice Atuguba ensusu dwaye. MPP. Aye say ye de George Nawuda na When you did Netrano, George Wood, Yadino, Ebebe, Botrano. Ada Atukuba 1992, made a center or contested parliament in the name of MPP on the constituency. So on the but Samia Mano Muye Yentino. Yeah, the what ya dear tia will be a ya. Sabafu Boni, the longest serving a year our Supreme Court bench. No, what you might near the idea of Yafano. Hey, Yanko Ponshira John Mahama. Na Oishira NDC aban se omwatimi ahye bafu boni adumunyam
pacho yapon
alanche mantin so ochia United Party
no we won some office why deja bisa
oh yeah meeting
okay
meeting
earlier em say yapon yam ya do channel pa ye be share
ye be we o
extended
there be some discussion yapon who akam so
It's me kwa besisi a why
yeah besisi a
abusunya enti ensem no eno no ensem okurum ha o obi wu wi a menim di enti aya Ghana obi wu wi a na ne chi asem bebre afina ye betwe ho amanson sa na ye papa Daddy Lumba wu ya sabi na yire no we see we na ye mikun we see we na ye ensem bebre ade nkra na ye nuan no mai sabi ebinum agie ade na umpe nipa no sa woni ne betena na o ma na ware o na so de ne ba ana se odi obi ba be mana I think say it is very unfair. It is very, very unfair. So the obi ba ma mukani saying a man odi obi ba ebe brobi so obi nhwe no. Now at the end of the day nipa ni hu a how would you react and how would you even take it? Say na wo be si afa no. Imagine say be man ko wo ba bi na obeka kire say in the beginning one kan kire na se mo bon obra kuduru in a pointer ebe din se mo mu betiti na oka kire wa. How would you feel it? enti sɛ wontumi mfili anaasɛ wontumi nsɔ ano a why then sɛ ɔno ne ba so anaasɛ wode obi ba bɛma no anaa wode ne ba bɛkɔ akɔkyɛ. It is sad. It is sad, but it is what it is. What you say, nti saa na abrabɔ no ɛte ne nyinaa ka ho bi. Yɛmfa wo nkɔ captain yɛmfiri captain ɛne Hopeson Adorye nsɛm yi mu na memfa wo nkɔ piem ɛwɔ yɛwura ɛyɛ wura ndin koraa de sɛ Nkwasi Pra Junior nso aka nsɛm bi wadi nkɔmmɔ bi na wohwɛ Kwasi Pra de obi a n'adwene mu dɔ panyin paa wɔ journalism wɔ nyi ankasa and wohwɛ ne nsɛm a wɔka ɛne how wɔsi di ne nkɔmmɔ a it's not just a person ɔkasa with experience waka nsɛm bi ɛde afa ndra report yɛ bɛtɔɔ hɔ a nipa anwɔtwe ɔmo hwɛ ɔmo kra nkwa yɛayɛ because of galamsey fight ne ho nsɛnsɛm report yɛ bɛtɔɔ hɔ yi Kwasi Pra Junior suggest bibi na waka nsɛm bi ne die mu a pamakyɛ mo menkɔ yi na yɛnkɔtie saa nsɛm no bi amfa bra na yɛkɔba yɛatoa wo do.
The Honourable Member of Parliament has even made it more complicated by vying into all kinds of areas, you know. But look, let's say that the important thing is that this committee of inquiry has provided empirical evidence pointing to the fact that this was an accident. And accidents occur in all kinds of situations. Indeed, they are accidents because we couldn't prevent them. You understand? As we sit here, I mean, the three of us, who knows what is going to happen when we leave the studio this morning? Clearly unpredictable. Can get a flat tire or best tire, anything can happen. Some reckless driver can run into you, anything can happen. I mean, so it's an accident. And the fact that the committee concluded that it's an accident also implies that there was no deliberate effort to sabotage, as was speculated much earlier. So this is an accident. Could we have done some things that could have minimized the chances of the accident occurring? Yes, according to the committee report. According to the committee report, more modern aircrafts would minimize the chances of such things happening.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that even the most modern of aircrafts get involved in accidents. Okay? Yeah. So that's not 100% proof that accidents would not occur in the future.
Or guarantee.
Or guarantee. It just minimizes the possibility of accidents, you know, occurring. So far, from what I've heard of the committee report, I don't think that any of us has read the full report of the committee. We are only commenting on what has been made available to the media. And from what we have all read, the indications are that this was an accident. Now, for me, the thing which ought to have come out of this accident, the most important lesson and the most important action that this accident should have inspired ought to have been an intensification of the fight against galamsey. That ought to have been it. And this is a country which has lost 8 of its citizens, including ministers who were dealing with the issue of galamsey. You understand? And that should have provided a certain impetus for going beyond what we have done now in order to deal with this menace. Unfortunately, I don't see that this accident has sufficiently galvanized us to take extraordinary measures to deal with the extraordinary situation of galamsey. And I feel a bit uncomfortable, you know, about that situation, because this is a huge opportunity I mean, look, any stringent measures which were taken after this accident to deal with Galamsey would at least have appeared to be justifiable in the eyes of the public. It seems to me that we are missing a most important opportunity to take extraordinary measures in order to deal with the menace of Galamsey. You understand? So that's one point. The other issue which has come up is the safety of our leaders, the conditions in which our leaders travel or pursue, the assignments that we have given them. And this is an old argument, it's not new. I recall when the Fokker 8 jet was being bought in the 1970s and the arguments that came up. I recall when the issue of the flying coffin, was also raised about the need to buy a new presidential jet and so on. It's not new, it's not a new debate, it's not a new issue. I recall recently when the Minister of Defense actually said in Parliament that the President was hiring expensive private jets because a certain level of comfort needed to be assured, for our President. And I recall the arguments put forth by Honorable Samuel Okudjato Ablakwa, now Foreign Minister and so on. I recall all of this clearly. Now the point I want to make is that no country in the world has unlimited resources. No country in the world has unlimited resources. And that is why when it comes to the comfort of officials and so on, we have to constantly be weighing we have to be doing cost-benefit analysis. Cost-benefit analysis. Okay. And our leaders ought to understand that their prime responsibility is not to assure their own comfort. Their prime responsibility is not an assurance, to ensure a certain assurance of their own comfort, but generally the well-being of all the people of the country. And if they understand that, these debates sometimes become needless. We are talking about the safety and comfort of our leaders. They fly jets, which may be rusty, the wings may be rusty and so on. And therefore it has become important for some people to argue for the purchase of better presidential jets and so on. Sometimes I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Many of them have not taken the trotro from Labadi to Circle before. They don't know what the conditions are. We're talking about rusty vehicles. Take the trotro. We're talking about vehicles with different conditions. Travel by road from Accra to Kumasi and see the risk that millions of our citizens have to take. You understand? In order to travel between Accra and Kumasi. Try driving to Winneba and see the dangers that millions of our citizens face. Now there's a choice before us, and this choice ought to be seen within the context of the limited resources available to us as a country. Should we spend resources improving the Accra-Kumasi road, or we should spend resources buying a luxurious presidential jet? That's a decision we have to make as a people. Should we come up with regulations and enforcement of regulations which would ensure that the quality of trotro transport is substantially improved for the millions of people who depend on it? Choices to be made. So at every stage, you have to make choices. And there are those who argue that in the making of these choices, the comfort of our leaders are most important. I disagree. You understand? In making these choices, it is not the comfort of our leaders which are most important. Why? Look at the conditions in Ghana today. And here, I'm referring to an authentic police intelligence report. You have an authentic police intelligence report which says that all the way from the northernmost border of this country up to Yeji and below, terrorist organizations have established sleeping cells in this vast area of the country. Now, if this danger explodes, can you imagine the number of people who will die? The number of people who will be rendered homeless and so on. Should we spend resources on this, on removing this terrorist threat, which is staring us in the face, or we should spend resources acquiring a comfortable, luxurious jet for the number one citizen of our country? Choices to be made. You understand? We have choices to be made. And whatever choice we make actually betrays our political and social orientation. Clearly betrays our political and social orientation.
How so?
Oh, it shows where you stand. It shows where you stand within the context of a class society.
Right.
So whatever choices we make betrays our political and social orientation. You understand? So, as far as I'm concerned, it is important to provide some protection for our leaders. It is important to provide some level of comfort for our leaders. But it is equally important to provide protection, comfort, and so on for the people of Ghana that the leaders are supposed to lead. Okay? So constantly we are engaged in a balancing exercise. Many times, politicians use these opportunities to claim vindication. Okay? So today, if you listen to many of our friends who are members of the New Patriotic Party or leaders of the New Patriotic Party, say, we've been vindicated. When our president was flying private jets and so on, there was so much noise made. The fact is that the aircraft that existed then was not airworthy. The fact is that we are concerned about the comfort and safety of the president. In any case, if the aircraft was not airworthy, if it was in a state of dilapidation that we are talking about, whose fault? Because aircrafts by nature can last for decades, depending on maintenance. So if a government refuses to maintain an aircraft and its condition deteriorates to the level that the Gulf Stream is supposed to have deteriorated, should the public purse be used to correct that error of governance, of government? Should the public purse be used? That's the question that all of us have to answer. You understand? Because if the Gulf Stream is in service throughout the world, many businessmen and so on continue to use the Gulf Stream aircraft. Why is it that the Ghana one cannot be used? Because we didn't maintain it properly. And if there's a government who does not maintain the aircraft properly, can it then turn around and use that as an excuse for buying a new jet? No matter what jet you buy, if you don't regularly maintain it, it will deteriorate to this level. You can buy the most expensive aircraft in the universe. If you don't maintain it, it will deteriorate. And if it deteriorates, it then doesn't become an excuse for buying a more luxurious one or inventing a more luxurious one. So this is the context within which I think we should have this conversation. I'm happy that in the final analysis, there is some empirical basis for making decisions about the aircraft available to the Ghana Air Force, the aircraft available for official business, and so on. There is some empirical basis for making decisions. But in making those decisions, we ought to arrive at a certain balance, which is not weighted more in favor of official comfort than public good. That's all.
We'll take a short break. I'm sorry. We'll have to take a short break because our partners are watching, and we expect also a member of the Finance Committee in Parliament. Isaac, you wanted to have a go at the. So that's in conclusion, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have other things to talk about.
Just briefly, Moro, I listened to my senior brother Uncle Kwesi, and I thought he has even made the conversation on this aircraft more complicated than you took over from me, because in his conversation around terrorism from the north towards the south and how we're supposed to deal with it along the path of the national resources, and then the need for a more modern aircraft for government use and all, made the whole conversation even more complicated. But one point I want to draw attention to is that, yes, it's an accident. The report establishes same and so, but there are always avoidable accidents. So if you have your car and your car is supposed to be in good condition, and you put it in good condition, and for whatever reason a third party crashes into you, it's an accident, but you cannot take responsibility for the accident. But when you clearly have an idea that the state of your helicopter, aircraft, or whatever machine you are using is not modern enough or not fit for purpose enough for the work that it has to do for you, because it's important. Aircraft, at what height is an aircraft supposed to fly? And so if the aircraft doesn't have modern technology, and these modern technologies we are talking about doesn't mean they are 2024, 2023 technologies. Some of the things we are talking about modern technology are actually 10 years ago. But because the aircraft were made 30 years ago, they don't have those features, and you cannot reconfigure them. There are certain times you can take them for maintenance and then you can reconfigure, but there are certain times you can't even reconfigure. And so at the end of the day, you don't place them in a condition where even if you have well-trained officers, they can navigate their path to secure the security of our people. And that is the angle from which I had come from. That yes, we have accidents, but we have to make sure that we don't position ourselves in a situation where you can avoid them and not get the thing. Let me also comment on the what led, or the cause for which this accident happened, which was the fight against Galamsey, where I agree with Uncle Kwesi that post this helicopter crash up till today, those steps have been taken to deal with the Galamsey. It has not been strong. People believe that government should take advantage of this particular aircraft helicopter accident to take some bold decisions in the area of the fight against Galamsey. But it has always been business as usual. And that is very worrying for me. It's been a clarion call for government to take the... Look, we had gone on some conversation on this PURC new tariff adjustment for the reasons why ECG, Ghana Water and Co. and Grid could continue to make requests for adjustment, and that the Galamsey menace is destroying everything that they are doing. ECG is saying that even their poles that are transmitting power, Galamsey, if you go to the Minfi area, the Takwa area, the Pristia area, they can't even access their electricity poles because people have mind Galamsey issues and national security and the health of our people and the electricity of our people. Gridco have the same problem. VRA have the same problem. And you ask yourself, with all of these that are going on, why is government hesitant in taking those bold decisions? And I always say the conversation is not about what did you do then. What did you do then is past. We now have a government that should lead the course. If a new government had come, we would be able to have judged that particular government's actions and inactions. But at least if past or previous government led by the MPP couldn't fight it the way Ghanaians wanted, and things have become worse today, and we expect the president and government to take decisive decisions. It is the responsibility of government today to do that. And I'm saying that for the death of these 8 people, government should do something about this Galamsey fine. Finally, let me just make a comment on the conflict between seeking the interest or comfort of government officials or top leadership of government and the interest of the ordinary Ghanaian. I think I made some submissions around it that in as much as you seek to improve the well-being of leadership, you should also be concerned about trickling it down to improve the well-being of the Ghanaian. And I'm saying that when it comes to resource management as a country, one of our bane has been our procurement of issues. And now you can see, if we are able to protect and get value for money for the things that we procure, we would have enough savings to do the things that you are talking about. And so we should keep a critical eye on our procurement of national things, including, you remember when John Mahama won at Tamils one, when we were talking about presidential aircraft and all the stories that came around procurement and values and these are the key things that we're looking at. And so from Parliament's point of view, from state actors, including civil society and the media, we should keep an eye that if we even agree for government to do certain things like procure national aircraft, helicopters, vehicles and the rest, we get value for money. So that at the end of the day, the savings that we would ordinarily are supposed to make, we will be able to use it for other national important matters. Thank you.
All right. You see, I just want to make some comment
That's okay.
about comfort, the correlation between comforts that leaders enjoy and their work output. See, if you go into history and so on, you would find that as a general rule, leaders who lead opulent lifestyles do very little for their people. And I'll give you just a few examples. There's this president of Peru, I think, who lives in what you would call a boys' quarter by Ghanaian standards, and who actually has an old VW Beetle, which he drives himself to work. President. He drives himself, old VW Beetle, that's his car, which he drives to work and so on. And the people of Peru simply worship him. Because the resources of Peru have been expended on improving the conditions of life of his people and so on. You understand? Another example that I like to give is Comandante Fidel Castro.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a key example.
my first time in Havana,
Okay.
on a busy Havana street, I see Fidel, and he's driving an old military jeep, which breaks down. And so, he managed to achieve a literacy level of almost 98-99% for the Cuban people. Universal and free access to health, and so, in spite of the fact that he had no comfort. In fact, I wonder what kind of wardrobe Fidel was keeping. Yes, he was virtually almost all the time in military fatigues and so on.
That's it.
Yeah, I wonder the kind of comforts that Fidel enjoyed. And yet, look at what happened to Cuban society under his leadership and so on. And we can go on. I mean, another one who has been cited is Sam Iyoma. Sam Iyoma, you know, and you can mention a few. So there's no correlation between the comfort that leaders enjoy and the extent to which they manage to be of service to their people. Look at Mobutu Sese Seko of Zaire. How many leaders in the world lived in the kind of comfort that Mobutu lived? And yet, look at what he did to Zaire. In fact, today, the Democratic Republic of Congo is in this mess as part of the legacy of Mobutu Sese Seko. So there's no direct correlation between the comfort level that our leaders enjoy and their commitment to improving the lot of our people. And I think this point needs to be made very clearly. All governments, all leaders, at all times, have to make sensible decisions about the utilization of resources. There are many things that the resources can be used for, including the comfort of leaders and the safety of the public, and so on. You are always having to balance between these two. And I want to see a sensible balance in Ghana. Finish.
Okay. Well, I guess that we'll have to move on. But whilst at it, I'm sure that we are all aware that as we speak, we don't even have one airworthy military aircraft as we speak. In fact, the only one we had, the only Z9 airworthy military aircraft that we have was what has crashed. All the other 5 are not airworthy. So today, if there's an emergency, helicopters, yes, none of them is airworthy. You know,
Yeah, but
I mean, I heard
even then,
Aboagye.
Masa, even then, the question still arises. And it's a question that I'm not answering. The question still arises as to what we should do with the scarce resources that we have.
Right.
Now, clearly, over the last 9 months, some significant things have happened to the national economy. I mean, the value of the cedi has appreciated, no doubt. Inflation now, I'm told, is in the single digit.
8.3.
8.3, 8.4, thereabout, you know. The debt level apparently has come down and so on. So some significant things are happening. And just about a few minutes ago, we heard the Minister of Agriculture, Eric Opoku, make claims about poultry farming and how it has improved significantly and how now poultry farmers are producing eggs, too much eggs for the market and so on, you know. So all of these positive things are happening. But still, the economy is not out of the woods.
True.
It's not out of the woods. You understand? If you look at the ratio of how much we are likely to spend on the repayment of, you understand?
Yeah.
So, yes, we do not expect our leaders to walk to work naked on foot. I don't think that anybody expects that. We expect our leaders to cover their nakedness with clothes. Clothes will cost some money. We don't expect them to go to office on a horse-drawn cart. We don't expect that. You understand? But still we expect a certain level of modesty. And again, this government has taken very interesting steps. For example, the decision to control petrol supply to appointees, if it's well implemented, is a positive step. You understand? The decision not to use certain types of cars, you know, the decision that appointees should not use certain types of cars, is a worthy, development and so on. The decision to cut down the number of ministers is interesting, it's important and so on. So I see some attempt at prudence in public expenditure, but it is not enough.
Okay.
You understand? Right. But it is not enough. There's a lot more that we can do.
Right.
But you see, just a short one. It's different when government makes some decisions and also to see whether appointees are complying with them. I'm just referencing issues around nature of vehicles and their sizes and their fuel consumption. I have not seen anything change in terms of the vehicles that government appointees are using. They are all still using the same big vehicles, the Land Cruisers, and if whether it's CEOs are still buying new Land Cruisers. Wow. Exactly. So at times, that's why we should have that accountability.
No, but hold on.
We should be able to track.
Isaac, I've asked this question before, and the explanation I got was that these cars that we're seeing, these CEOs and so on driving, I'm told they're cars that were bought under the erstwhile administration. And they have to be used. And a
good number of them were bought previous years, but yes. New ones are being bought. Of course, yes. You can check from some of the CEOs that have been appointed into some of these agencies. They are using new Lexus or new Land Cruisers, and so government should be able to track what it says to what is happening on the ground, and then we can have periodic updates or reports to tell us that since government came up with this policy, these are the total number of vehicles that have been bought by across the state agencies. These are the costs.
So that is it. Absolutely, that is it. And do you know one thing? And the report never told on. I learned say this is not a history, and you can't say this is not a DBC that organ penny. Yes, helicopter. I didn't pay phone and I say, and I think so. No more yet or the omashi honum pain. Branako 40 so. Yes. So this is not the first time a helicopter a crash. You may say, who say ye then, Anna, as in Sibu, sir, and Senny see, no. Pay 40 a bit your cruiser or moon shim the Fabai. If you actually know, young Hushi. I say Ghana, I did on my DNA Fisia near Batra. I say, be a quaraketo or nanti na wasunti. Usuntia, or no name say, I didn't know man suntia no. Obe ye free no, obe ye free honum, and you be jan honum. O kodru obiwa, na se ni anse anya ne fast na na anse antwene mfiri ho a. Obesia sunti wa de kodef na so. It tells you so ya kwada onim di oye onim ade koro. Enti no, sana Ghana yaye. Gitimi hu sade we e di san beba. Anya helicopters oh, mfanche me. Anya helicopter no. Helicopter say use no kroma no. Anya no kwa na ida de o. Ame mo classical example. Say mo hu ye STC buses ndi sisi kwan so no. Kotena bi mu hwa ade. Na nsinya mi fa bi free. Kumasi to Accra na me pese me ko wi ko ya ade kakra. Na mi fa bi no. He ye team na fe die nkofo bi mada na omu ye denyo omada na omu mechanics ade na ekọ no na omu bie we o ikura wenyu VIP kura se na make wenye STC de meka ho asema kirewo baby a in a few minutes amenka wi na mato no so akirewo yeti VIP de mo no na nkofo bi ma bie baabi aya na first gate will be a friend transfer no omo bi baby omo ye kuchire bi wo ho no whilst the car is moving intina mi se omo ko ya na omo gina kakra na dwo anwummerɛ na ɔmo agyina kakra na ɔmo ahwɛ na ɔmo agyina kakra enti ɔmo anhu sɛ ade no sɛbi foto bi mfonso bi wɔ ho ɛna ɔmo soɔ nipa minim koraa no I think sɛ bus no yɛfa almost is it 80 or so? Yes, more than 80. Enti mean about 140 something. Wasoɔ nipa wɔ yi nyinaa yɛgum ɛna car na ɛkɔ no hɔ no na wakɔfa boot sɛ nɔɔto sɛ screwdriver ɛna wo screw nneɛma mu. Enti sɛ saa adeɛ wei ɛkɔ no nyame mfa saa ma wo. Ɛnyɛ accident a ɛyɛ me anaa yɛwo anaasɛ sɛbi yɛgyi me ne yɛ nneɛma na aku yɛ. Wofa kyɛ bi o. It's the same way na last me fa bi frakra ha no ba me de kɔ bono na me kɔ ayie bi me kɔ bono na me kɔ ayie me na na wu nti na me kɔ hɔ no makɔ yie me fa STC ano papa around 7 thinking say oh we die akyɛ kra no ebi abɛyɛ in the 8 p.m. and I said 9 p.m. hɔ no na makɔ akɔduro abusuafo yɛduru mo ka ne sɛ oh baabi a yɛ nkɔfo duro ɔmo Linda do yɛduru hɔ na kai ebu fa hɔ obu fa thinking sɛ oh sɛ kaa die baas ne kɔɔ sɛ ebu fa hɔ deɛ na nkɔfo kɔdidi ayɛ ɔmo ho yie kama yɛbu fa hɔ yɛ gyina hɔ saa na kaa na sɛ abusua den tara fe na abɔ bɛyɛ 9 because yɛtu firi akra nyankyɛ ɛna kai ɔmo hwɛ gyina hɔ ma ne bɔ almost 1 p.m. in the afternoon na yɛnya replacement kaa ne ntimi nkɔ so enta na fe na mahyɛ blogging ase foforɔ so I threatened them to broadcast the news knowing say me platform ne nya nkɔ animu but I threaten na ɔmo say nkɔfo bofu. You see me, I am saying all these things because Ghana yenim sɛ ade na yɛfa yɛbɛtenam no ɛyɛ den owuo nkogya ekugya yɛ kwan but bibini bɛka sɛ oh yɛnkɔmmra sisi a yɛnkɔmmra yɛkɔba yɛayɛ na yɛatenam na ade no yɛahwɛ na asɛm akɔsi esi wi ahwan na ayɛ recommendations na Captain Fodru ɛne ne nkurɔfoɔ ba ɔmo de abɛto dwa no ma obi nka sɛ na ɛyɛ weather then the master weather, forget about the weather. We have the what? We have the technology, the modernized thing I determine the money now. It in Kemisa didn't have flight I can see now muye internationally in Debio Muye Juma Debio Moko weather so ye by Debio Moko. They are what? They are modernized. Into Moma MPB, they in Japa, you send it to Kruma ye kunkro for Kwana. Ebiana na enyo no na ye wo awhwe me na se ye mienti munya bramika eti saa ne ma ye no eno na ema Ghana nko ye procrastination ye bɔ ne ma to we agi ato ho o ye betobi o ye behwe o ye betobi na aban na koda na aban fufura ba ye beto no nso agi ato ho no na next time we say ye free and one thing about Africans especially Ghanaians is that we forget so easily. We forget so easily. We say another set na yasna bo atena fufuro hwiu. Eno so ye hwe na me fasa mo bi bio. But we say no so akoye forgery. Abusia no kwase na meka no. Enti saa nneɛma na yem taking serious okrom ha. Asɛm ba ye ko hwehwɛ nwi na recommendations na ye de ato baabi na ye nam na ye ne epe no. Eno ne ye ne cases enam kwan so bebree out am kan say ene brofo ne mbo adan minim de ntia outdated, right? Outdated just a free system nim aye a cake mamen kan say aye a cake atwam anka wasi gya yusu ebe ono abrofo na yusu no more than 10 years wo mo ho ena yen so ye ba no abe spend about 10 years into 20 years any ha become used to a store and I jam a kotoy watch I say. But to be frank, moment take it serious. And yes, I couldn't have. Yet the incumbent to a cinema, including Yankasa, a month paying for no. Say, I'm on paying for no more, will see you. I'm on paying for no more, will be a bush for be a japadio. nti wei yɛ na hɔ wei ɛyɛ sɛ besua deɛ de ma yɛ nyinaa nti mo yɛ nyinaa yɛnyɛ yɛ homes anyɛ aban mu nko a wɔ fie nneɛma bi wɔ hɔnom na ɛni kwan sɛ electrical fault ne saa nneɛma no nyinaa wɔ sɛ take it serious because anyɛ saa ebi yɛbɛsɔ yɛ ti sei na yɛka mu ɛba saa deɛ yɛbɛsɛ yɛase awie deɛ yɛbɛhwere yɛahwere awie deɛ ebi pere yɛpere awie yɛho hwɛ yie kyerɛ w'adwene comment section no akra bye bye.